All right.
Here we go.
Buckle up, buttercups.
Here we go.
It's the podcast that Sly Serpent warned you about.
Welcome to Biting All the Apples, where two gals discuss one radical book.
The 1895 bestseller, The Woman's Bible, by Elizabeth Cady Stanton.
I'm Joanna V.
And I'm Sarah Kay.
Today, we're talking through the 19th century feminist hot takes on more stories from the beginning of all beginnings, Genesis!
Yeah. We're talking Cain, we're talking Abel, we're talking great floods, and of course, biblical romance.
But first, the disclaimers. Biting All the Apples covers the analysis of religious texts. Some listeners that are religious out of the need for the illusion of certainty may find the content offensive. Biting All the Apples also discusses historic texts and feminist movements. We recognize that individuals, groups, and alternative movements have been left out of history. We will note that whenever possible. We are open to additional information provided to us in the spirit of expanding our knowledge.
We love expansive knowledge.
You know, it's because we're women.
That's right.
And we, took a bite off that tree of knowledge. We took it.
And that's why we're gonna live forever.
Baby, remember my name. Apples. Okay. Apples hold all the knowledge, Sarah.
Yeah, I know. And I find fruit hilarious.
Fruity.
Yeah.
That's where the word.
So, Joanna, we are back. We're back smack dab in the middle of Genesis.
We're back.
Yeah.
How'd it go this week?
Oh, I just loved it. It was riveting reading all those really easy to read Bible passages.
I'm telling you, it took me back. And it makes me understand why when you're in catechism, they don't have you read the Bible. Because
they're like, don't trouble yourself.
They're
It's
like,
really boring.
If a kid read that, they'd be like, and I'm out.
Yeah.
Because I am glossed over and have zero idea what is being said.
That's right.
Because I'm an adult. And I kind of felt that way.
Still.
But luckily, these ladies are explaining things, which does make it riveting.
Yeah, that is, the riveting part is the commentary. And I do, just to recap last week, nothing in Genesis so far states that women are secondary or subservient to men.
Zero. It actually says that man is all humankind.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
I don't even know why we started messing around with man, women. Come on.
I know.
So ridiculous.
It was the wiley writer that made that division.
Those wiley writers.
I know. That's what I'm saying.
They just make it what they want.
So we got Adam, we got Eve. And that leads us to,
everybody else.
Yeah, leads us to everybody else.
Yeah, because apparently those two propagated all the children for the rest of the world.
Yeah, we have them to thank. And their first kids, who were they?
Cain and Abel.
That's right. Cain and Abel. Maybe you've heard of them.
I've been beget a son. These were beget.
They totally begat some sons.
I begat a son today.
Some Cains and Abels. I found this little tidbit that the translation of the name Cain derives from Kenyan, or means acquisition. Abel means empty, vain, or transitory.
Oh.
Renderings of these Hebrew names. That's what the internet said.
Oh.
The general brain of the internet.
So I've noticed that they talk about the Jewish translation and the Hebrew translation, right? It seems like there's two, right?
Yes.
So I find that interesting. So but they have all these names in common, but...
Wait, when you say they, as in our ladies?
Our ladies. The ladies.
Our ladies.
Our ladies of the Women's Bible.
The ECS, Elizabeth Cady Stanton.
Yes.
And then we've got Lillie Devereux Blake.
Yes.
Who I also found out, did you know she was an author and her pen name was Tiger Lily?
Oh my gosh,
I know.
Kidding me?
We shouldn't even talk about the Bible. We should talk about Tiger Lily.
I'm in love with these ladies, by the way.
I love these ladies. They were so
and
awesome.
I also feel in debt to them and feel really sorry that we have not progressed. Because they really thought we'd be a lot further than we are right now. I feel it in their boat. Like, they were like, we're on the cusp of something. And I was like, oh.
Or maybe they thought someday, over 130 years from now, two small-town gals are going to reconvene in that same small town, drive to Lansing, and record a podcast about this.
God, I bet they were. But, you know, in retrospect, they're probably up there. Where is there? In the universe of particles. And they're like, yes, bring us back to life, please. Because they are brilliant.
They're totally brilliant. The other initials that we see here with the commentators is CBC, and that's Clara, Bewick, Colby.
Ooh.
Or is it Bewick? I was looking forward to recording today because I'm like, what can I mispronounce?
I know.
Like, what can I do?
Hey, we're here to make people like go, I'm going to look that up and say they're wrong.
Yeah.
Because people love to do that.
People love to correct other people.
It's like our marketing strategy.
It is.
We just want smart people to listen and go, you are saying that wrong.
Yeah.
And then they're going to have a lot more information for us.
I want a lot of calls that are like, actually, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah, that.
You said that wrong, and let me give you a little history.
Yeah.
About why you're wrong.
Bring it on.
I love that.
I'm like, go to bitingalltheapples.com and we'll have a place for you to say, actually.
But
I love it.
But yes, because reading, like, so they have the Bible text and then the ladies discuss it.
Mm-hmm.
When I'm reading the Bible text, I'm like, who would ever read this and think, yeah, this is what we got to live by?
Yeah, sold. So I think some gents read it and were like, this?
I could use this for something.
I could use this. Yeah. Some kings and some dudes were like, this is very handy.
And let's just twist it around a little bit because
Yeah.
it seems like the original writers really liked women. Did you
Yes.
get that from your reading?
I did.
Yeah, they were like, oh my gosh, women are great. And when they give birth, you should surround them with flowers and adorn them. And then all of a sudden, someone came in and said, actually, you having babies should be really torturous. And you should have no medication. And it should just be a time of trials. And you're just here birthing the line of human beings for all of the earth.
Well, and that's what Elizabeth talks about is the inconsistencies, as if in one chapter, birth and the pain is like punishment and scary and should be held in secret. And then in another chapter, I think when it comes to Sarah and Abraham, Sarah's like totally stoked and joyous. And that's where Elizabeth, this is where in this, the comments on Genesis, where she really gets into like, give me a break.
Yeah, give me
The same person did not write this crap.
Yeah, and it's like so blatantly obvious.
Yeah.
Which is kind of crazy because you'd think that the people, because obviously we know that people read the Bible more regularly way back when. Because there weren't a lot of books, I don't believe. And it was just in every home and, you know, everybody had the Bible. But I don't, honestly, when I look at it now, I'm like, did they read it? Or did they just have it and they went to church and their little pastor or whatever, he just said, no, this is what it says. This is my question.
See, you're really getting into the nitty gritty. I'm like, we could actually just wrap this whole thing up and be like, did anybody really read this?
Did anybody read? Because I'm reading it and I'm like, this is tough.
Yeah, there's so many. Okay, so I'm almost like, and I'm pausing to look here. We're Cain and Abel. Hold on, pause for looking.
Well,
Or you got, you go if you got something.
What do you need to know?
Well, I was looking for Katie's comments. Oh, I have a note to myself says, oh my God, I can't with how sassy. That's a note to myself.
Oh!
And this is where she makes fun again of our dude, Adam Clark.
Adam Clark, the guy that spent 40 years reading the Bible to explain it to us.
Right.
Because one guy knows everything.
And so this is, oh my God, I'm going to read this whole thing. We're going to need it. Okay, so
read it.
She said, here's a paragraph. There's something pathetic in Eve's joy and faith at the advent of her firstborn. Quote, lo, I have a man-child from the Lord. I believe that's how Eve talked.
Lo. All ye, nobody, because it's only me and Adam.
Yeah, like the
animals. She's talking to
Who are
me.
you talking to, girl? You posting this somewhere? Okay. So she evidently thought that Cain was to be her great blessing. Some expositors say that Eve thought that Cain was the promised seed that was to bruise the serpent's head.
Yeah, well, apparently the Lord said that in the first chapters.
Okay.
That something would happen and someone would bruise that little serpent's head.
Yeah.
Which we don't know. Back to the earth.
We still don't know if it's a serpent because somebody else said it was an orangutan. So, but carrying forward, but Adam Clark, in estimating women's reasoning powers, says it was just too metaphysical an idea for that period. And so Elizabeth's like, but as that is just what the Lord said to Eve, she must have had the capacity to understand it. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, she's like, Adam, we understood. And you didn't give us credit. Yeah. Adam Clark.
So we had Adam Clark trying to be like, there's no way that Eve could have received this information from God. But so essentially Elizabeth's like, Eve totally knew what was up.
But I also love that they don't even, like, so I read this and I'm like, dang. So Cain killed Abel, like killed his brother, just killed him. They don't talk about that because they're just like, yeah, that happened. That's the story.
Right.
So they just know these stories. Whereas I'm like, I guess I didn't pay attention that much in catechism because I'm like, wouldn't that terrify a child? Like, and you learned this pretty early on, if I recall. I remember hearing about Cain and Abel as a child. And I'm like, who tells their children the story? Like, God turned down. So everybody offers things to gods in every religion, right? So I'm getting well versed in the Hindu religion because I'm married into a Hindu, right? So I learn about all these gods and stuff, and there's always like sacrifices and things like that. But it's a lot of violence in this book of love that's supposed to unite us all.
You're like, what's up with that?
Yeah, why are we killing our brothers? And then like just being okay with it.
Yeah, and it's to get the like love and attention of God. That's why I'm already like, so this God, as he seems like a he,
yes,
already, like he's already losing me by this point. Because I was like, why are you such a bully? Why are you trying to get brothers to kill each other? But it is true in the woman's
it's
Bible.
With an A. That is the woman. It's not woman. I think that's interesting.
I know,
but it is because they thought the woman would be taking this with them to church.
That's right. That's right. But in the Bible, they don't tell you the whole story, as Joanna pointed out in the other episodes. It really is, they just clip the segments from these stories that really address women. Mm-hmm. So that leads people like us to be like, okay, so what happened with Cain and Abel?
Yeah, like I need to go back and read my Bible stories.
Yeah. So these are some kids that Eve had, and they were brothers. And Cain, the firstborn, was a farmer. His brother Abel was a shepherd. The brothers made sacrifices, each from his own fields. Look, I'm like running through. They kill each other.
Cain had fruit that he offered to God, and then Abel had sheep, and he didn't like. God didn't like Cain's fruits for whatever reason. I still don't know, and I read it like 5 times because I'm like, is it going to tell me why? And they make like a small mention of it, but so Cain was like, oh, God liked yours better. I'm going to kill you, brother. And he kills him.
So
and
rude.
His blood leaks into all of his vegetables. So apparently it helped him grow, and he eats from the blood of his brother.
Yeah.
Do you think that's what they wanted me to get from that?
Yeah, and I think that's where the phrase "everything happens for a reason" came from, for Instagram. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
I like it. Sometimes you got to kill your brother.
Yeah. For fruit.
When God doesn't like what you offered.
Yeah. Totally.
You kill the guy that, God liked his stuff.
But so the concerns here of Elizabeth Cady Stanton for the Cain and Abel story really is more about the suffering of the parents.
Yes.
So knowing, Eve was looking forward to having these kids, and it turns out they're just a bunch of murderers. And this is another quote that I like from, it's sassy. It says, it seems far more rational to believe that the curses on both woman and man were but figments of the human brain, and that by the observance of natural laws, both labor and maternity may prove great blessings.
Yes, and they should be.
And
like I told you, Elizabeth Cady Stanton made that a point. She not only says these words, but she actually, and she had already, when she wrote this, she had already had all of her babies. But when she was having them, she was like, I don't believe that, and I'm going to celebrate every birth and enjoy it for what it is, a miracle, right?
Right.
Even though the Bible says I should take it as a time of suffering.
Yeah. And she's ticked about that because at the end of her segment on this, she says, when these remedial agents were first discovered, some women refused to avail themselves of their blessings. I believe she's talking about, actually, she might be talking about anesthesia.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Which I'm like, whoa, girl, they don't even do that anymore. But anyways.
Well, but like, so we have better drugs.
Yeah.
But yes, like it's a big process to go through to birth the baby.
So she said to refuse to avail themselves of their blessings, and some Orthodox physicians refuse to administer them, lest they should interfere with the wise provisions of providence and making maternity a curse. That's how I believe she says it.
Yes.
So that's her main issue with this part of Genesis. She's like, what's this crap?
Yeah.
Why's it got to be a curse?
Why? Yeah, because it should be beautiful. And
Right.
You should be surrounding me with flowers and beauty while I'm having birth of your child. So you said providence. Do you know what providence meant? I mean, besides Rhode Island?
Of course I do. I'm super educated.
Tell me.
No, I don't know what it means.
Okay,
Tell me.
I looked it up because I'm like, what the heck is that?
I'm like, I went to school.
It's the idea that God guides and cares for all of the world.
That's lovely.
Isn't that lovely?
Oh.
But he didn't care for women as much as men because if you read the Bible, you would think that.
Right.
But luckily, these ladies came out and said, you know what? Someone translated this stuff wrong. They got it wrong.
They got it all wrong.
Because women are the bomb diggity. That is a direct quote from myself. That was not in the book.
You're like, that's, I mean,
But I
it's
mean,
very quotable.
that's basically what they are getting down to is like, women are amazing. And they even said that about Eve. They're like, Eve really got a bad rap, but she wasn't beguiled by the snake for getting like riches, right?
Right.
They weren't like, hey, here's this, here's that. They were like, do you want knowledge? Do you want to learn stuff? And she was like, well, yeah.
Yeah.
Give me the apple.
Yeah.
I mean, I want to know it all, just like us.
I know.
And
Eternal life through knowledge.
Yeah. And who knows, if he would have offered it to the man, he'd be like, no, dude, they said not to eat it. I don't need to know anything more. I'm naked. I'm here with the lady. All is well. And,
Adam was like, why do you guys want to talk so much?
Yeah. God, you're always talking. Always thinking.
Talking and thinking. So the rest of Genesis, in summary, I'm kidding.
You can't summarize it.
You can't summarize it. They tried. But it is about, the propagating of
people.
Of people.
Where the people came from. But they all came from Adam and Eve. And then Cain and, not Abel, sorry. He's dead. Gone. But Cain.
Now you tell me.
Sorry.
That's devastating.
And they just keep having babies. But I like how they said, so they have like all these ages and dates of all the men and what they did and all this history. But the people having the actual humans, second thought.
Elizabeth writes, she was like, so we know, I mean, I might be skipping ahead, but this is all a blur of all the people having, there's a flood and some people had some babies. But she was like, they mentioned that their sons had sometimes up to 2 wives.
Yeah,
she's like, they never mentioned from whence they came, these women.
No.
They're just around. Like
they're just there, and you just pluck them off a tree.
Like they're cattle. Yeah, like they're fruit or cattle. So we can see where these
He
problems.
got himself 2 wives and just had lots of babies. And then there's Joanna and Sarah.
That's right.
Here we came. We came from the tree of Noah and his, because so Cain and all these people had all these babies with all these women.
We should preach.
But no, you got seriously. So they had all these babies, but then they just talk about how awful the women were. I got to read this to you. It says, the Jews evidently believed that males were the superior sex. Men were called the sons of gods, and women, the daughters of men.
Oh, yo.
And it says that all the sin and misery resulting from their marriages were all attributed to the women. I mean, can you just pretend that you're a guy for a minute and you're like, yes, I like that. Nothing is my fault. It says it right here in the word of the God, right?
Yeah, amazing.
But luckily, we are here to tell you They got it wrong, guys. It's not true.
That's right. Just a little bit of a misinterpretation. And that's where we lead into the story. Now it's time to go into the Abrahamic covenant.
Oh, God.
I just said that.
Oh,
Is it, or are we at the Great Flood?
Well, so they have all these women and babies are born, but women are terrible. Stuff looks bad. God comes down and says, I have made a mistake, but you, Noah, you, my friend, get your wife and some animals and get on this ark. And we're going to start over with Noah. So they start over with Noah. So really, we come from Noah. We don't really come from Adam and Eve.
Right.
Because they were wiped out.
Well, and they do talk about, they briefly mention that the idea, how much the flood doesn't make
any sense historically.
Yes.
But wait a minute. I swear to you, I need to Google this, but I thought they found the ark somewhere. Can't you go visit it? Can't you go walk on the ark somewhere? Serious.
What? In Vegas?
Yes.
In front of the Bellagio?
They found the ark,
They
guys.
did not find
I'm
the
not
ark.
kidding. They did. Somebody did. I saw it on the 700 Club. I'm just kidding. I don't know.
You really had me. I'm like, wait a minute.
No, I think I read that somewhere.
That's why.
That they think they found the ark.
Pause for I'm looking.
Oh, where they talk about the
I do know.
glaciers and stuff.
Well, we do know that there are lots of flood stories that predate Noah and the Bible, right?
Yes.
It's similar to the older Babylonian accounts, the Great Flood, written in the Epic of Gilgamesh,
Ooh.
which is older than Iliad and Odyssey, which I read weekly.
All the time.
Do you?
I
Yeah.
love those.
I was just reading it before we started.
Cyclops. I like all that.
But I think, too, this, student keeps on bringing us back to, does anybody seriously believe that this is not an allegory? Because you still had the, fundamentals that are no, that really happened. There's, an arc that expands.
Yeah. Yeah, it just keeps growing.
Yeah.
But I love, one of the ladies says, I got to see who it says, because they're like, if a woman built this, there'd be a lot more windows. Isn't that funny?
That's so good. And there'd be more bathrooms.
Yes. It would be fresh air all around for everybody. I got to read this.
Okay.
The paucity of light and air in this ancient vessel shows that woman had no part in its architecture, or a series of portholes would have been deemed indispensable. I love that. Obviously no woman was there, because there would have been way more than one window. Give me a break. We like to see things. It's the knowledge thing.
Yeah.
We want to know where we're going.
And this is where, again, they're talking about going on the ark, and Elizabeth writes, they all take wives, beget sons, but nothing is said of the origin or destinies of the wives and daughters. They are incidentally mentioned merely as necessary factors in the propagation of the male line.
Yeah. They're just,
rude.
Just having babies.
Yeah.
We're going to Handmaid's Tale.
That's right.
Maybe that's what the Bible's all about. So the people of that time, they lived, breathed everything by the Bible, right? And these ladies are firm believers. They're all reverends, right? They are probably your biggest believers in what the word says. Because the bulk of the word says, do unto others as you'd have done to you. Live like a good person.
God is love.
God is love. We should love each other. We should accept everyone, right?
Mm-hmm.
Turn the other cheek. But then they're like, you women, you got to obey your husbands. And which is why they were and then it just kept getting thrown in their face. And they're like, all right, obviously it's the book that we love, that that we're living our lives by. This book is holding us down. And if we don't get people on board to see the fallibility of the translators, we're not going anywhere. And the funny thing is, they weren't successful. It was a bestseller. I don't know who was buying it, but they weren't successful because you and I think are the only ones walking around with our women's Bible.
No, there are probably a lot of women's studies classes.
There probably are, yes. Yeah. Because actually it wasn't that hard to get.
Yeah.
I looked online and there was 50 different versions I could have bought.
It's freely available. I think that it speaks more to the power that believing in the translation has. and just how important it is that nobody questions it. It's not that the ladies didn't write a good book.
The ladies wrote an amazing book.
A great book. I just can't get through the Bible parts.
Well, luckily they do it for us. I mean,
I'm like, it's great. It's great. So what do you know about these other party people, Abraham, Sarah, Isaac?
I know that Sarah, your descendant of Sarah, she's like the only woman that really gets some good light in the Bible. And
It's
she's
true.
She's like 107.
Right.
But I wasn't able to find out why she was like the best one. And then Elizabeth says, whilst we drop a tear at the tomb of Sarah, we cannot recommend her as an example to the young women of our day, as she lacked several of the cardinal virtues. She was undignified, untruthful, and unkind to Hagar. But our moral standard differs from that of that period in which she lived, as our ideas of right and wrong are not innate, but depend on education. So Sarah probably lived up to the light that was in her. And I'm like, dude, I love Sarah. And they are saying the same thing, like I'm saying about Elizabeth Cady Stanton and all of her ladies that helped write this book. Like, they weren't given enough credit. And they're actually saying that about Sarah.
Oh, see?
But they also said she was undignified, untruthful, and unkind. But you know what people said about Elizabeth Cady Stanton and like Susan B. Anthony? Undignified, disgusting women.
Horrible stuff.
Right?
Yeah.
So I would have thought that they would have really related with Sarah.
See?
So I found that interesting.
And they have the best part about the Sarah and Abraham story to me was that they were 1,000,000 years old.
I know, it's just having babies. Like,
and that's a good, where Elizabeth's like,
all these babies,
this is an allegory. Come on, people.
I mean, they could have made it a little more steamy, then more people would read it, you know? You'd think with all these babies, there'd be a little bit of love scenes.
That's right.
Nothing.
That's right.
You just take a wife and have babies.
I guarantee there's probably a Sexy Time Bible
you think
out there.
So?
Yeah.
I don't want to look for it.
I don't.
Because I can't imagine reading this stuff with some sexy time in it. Because it is the least sexy
It's
time.
very fringe. It's very fringe.
We're writing it right now.
Did you see in here? I did not. Okay. So this is where there's a lot of this stuff where I'm like, I kind of don't understand what's going on here. But on, wait, let me make sure that I'm talking that Elizabeth. No, this is CBC, our other lady.
Okay.
Clara Bewick Colby, and she was the one that started a newspaper that was called the Women's Tribune, and it was like the longest running suffrage newspaper out of Nebraska. Yeah, hot tip.
Nebraska.
Yes.
Dang.
So the story of Sarah and Hagar that's her son?
Yeah.
Okay.
No.
No.
Is it? No. Hagar.
We don't know.
Hagar. No, because Hagar kicks her out with her son. Right? And then with just like a little bit of food and like a little thing of water.
I've just lost all credibility.
I'm telling you. And then she shoves that. I don't know, because I was getting kind of lost. But I'm pretty sure he kicked her out. She had to walk in the desert, ran out of water. And she was like, put the baby under the bush. And was like, I don't want to watch it die, but it's going to die. And she went and left and then cried out, and the baby was crying, and God was like, what are you doing? Here's some water. Feed your baby. So then she went back and saved the baby. So Hagar is not her son, but he's the guy that birthed the baby.
Okay. Yes. They really should make these stories sexier, so I'd remember that.
I know.
But they...
I literally, can I tell you? I read that 4 times, and that's how long it took me to get that. I'm like, wait. Who the heck is Hagar? Because I don't know if you remember, like, the comics from the newspaper.
Yes.
Hagar the Horrible.
Yeah.
Every time I read that name, I see the little Viking guy, and I'm like, oh, poor Sarah. She had to be with Hagar the Horrible.
It's so mean. But the Gales responding to that passage, thank goodness they did, because I'm like, Joanna had to read it 4 times. I'm still like, what are you talking about? But this is a part, I don't even know what is going on here, but I love what she says. She said, had it not been for Paul, that prince of occult philosophers, who distinctly says, according to the old version, that is an allegory. According to the Revised, that it contains an allegory. For these women are two covenants, one bearing children unto bondage, the other unto freedom.
Yeah. So this is another thing. So I was thinking, when I heard that, I was like, oh, this is how they justify slavery. Because, right, like every civilization has some form of slavery, right? And so they're like, oh, well, those people were born. That's just,
of course.
They were born to be servants.
Yeah. Like women were born
The
to.
Bible says it.
Yeah, the Bible says it right here in this totally convoluted, super boring, unsexy passage.
Yes.
Yeah. Like.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, it's really
because
wild.
People still so I've been to India a few times, and the caste system is still like in full effect there. They're trying to back away from it, but like it is, and there must be some. Now they don't use the Bible, but they have other religion that must, it seems like all of the books seem to have something to explain why we need other people doing things for us.
And I'm laughing, but I'm like, but it is true. And it also is like this human desire to like categorize but to me, that is primitive. And like evolutionarily, we'd be like, yeah, okay, that's what happened when we were a little bit. We didn't know about like telephones or whatever.
Anything.
It's like we know some more stuff now.
We know a lot more stuff.
We know a lot more stuff. We have a lot of stuff that if we just spread the stuff around, everybody could do their thing. Everybody could be making podcasts and discoing or playing soccer or whatever your dream is. There's room for it.
Yeah. And if you think about
unless you're Hagar.
When they even wrote this women's Bible, even though they were fighting for the end of slavery, I don't think they were fighting for the end of servants, right?
Oh, that is so.
You know what I'm saying?
Did you? Oh, yeah.
Because we're talking about some ladies that had a lot of money. They weren't struggling. So like these Bible pieces that they don't go in depth in, I'm like, but I would have spent some time there.
Yeah, it's probably like they're like, well, that's about house help, and we're good for that.
And we need that. We are. I got a lot of babies. It's a lot of diapers.
We totally have to look that up. Did you look up any of that, or I'm like, is there a listener that knows anything about that?
Right. Throw it at me. Because those are thoughts that went through my head as I was reading that. I was like, this is kind of interesting.
Yes.
That's what's great about this is like, I'm reading this, but then it sends me in like all these directions of trying to figure out how are we right here, right now.
Yeah. Well, reading more about the Great Flood, I was like, so somebody took like a natural disaster and politicized it.
Yeah.
Still happening.
Like humans. That's the
literally
thing.
Still happening.
So I'm like, man, have humans really evolved?
Yes.
At all? I mean, since,
we can run a 4-minute mile.
Okay.
I mean, I can't.
Me neither.
But no, I love those. Like, there's so much that I'm like, it still is. As much as it feels like, oh, it's still this way. But I mean, there's obviously been great advancements.
There's been great advancements.
I say obviously. Why did I just say that? Obviously, this is not a good week to say that. But
no, because stuff is not looking advanced. We're actually, we may be on the precipice of going backwards.
We actually are going backwards.
We already hit the precipice, and we're just rolling. We're just rolling downhill.
But we're here to say, like, that's cool. We got a text from back then that we're reading. Let's do this.
Let's continue the progress forward.
This is also where she's so they very much are about breaking down the relationships and how women are pretty much glossed over, and then the inconsistencies in how women are supposed to feel about childbirth, which to me says that definitely some dude mistranslated. Because I'm like, somebody had more of a problem with childbirth than, Because if a woman like did the translation, she would have been like, no problem, this is what happens.
Yeah, this is how it goes.
Yeah.
Just like when we are currently getting things legislated by all men still.
Yeah.
On our own bodies.
And that whole thing, speaking of like today's times, I had this in my notes, so like where they're trying to make pregnancy like a curse. And Elizabeth's like, that's BS. And it's just so inconsistent. And it's mimicked in our culture today. Like, we have simultaneous criminalization and secrecy and shaming of pregnancy, and yet lip service is paid to mothers have the most important job in the world. And then there's like this mother worship and this idea. So I'm like, it really is almost exactly like, we're like Old Testament style.
Yeah, I know.
It's never been about how women feel or experience it. It's all about how men feel and interpret it.
Yeah, and that's where I feel sad, because I'm like, gosh, they did. I can't remember the part where they said it, but they're like, oh, the time is coming where we won't have to worry about this anymore because we have hit, the moment where things are going to get better for us. And I was like, oh, girl.
Well, I mean, things did get better in a lot of ways, because it's easy to look at this women's Bible and be like, I don't even know what I was going to say, because then I just went flashback to being like, there was a lot of shit going on back then.
It was a different time. Okay, so it was a harder life, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Things are very easy now, but almost now that they're so easy, maybe that's why we're going back.
Yes.
To
People
the dark
taking
ages.
for granted. Yeah. Or you might be going back to the dark ages because it's easier to control people.
Oh, you're probably right.
I know, that's why I'm trying to drag everybody back.
You're like, I want to be the controller.
Get on my ark.
Let's go. We're taking
We're
off.
going to Cartagena or something.
Mars.
We're going to Mars. Do you see how this all ties in?
It all ties to Mars. We're taking all the ladies and several men, because obviously we need each other to make babies.
We
Right.
say obviously, but there's technology and stuff. So anyways, Cain, Abel, all this stuff, all these women. And it's really at the end of this analysis of Genesis where ECS just kind of like goes off.
Oh, she does.
Did you see what I'm talking about? Now I'm just pulling out random quotes, but I saw the one that I underlined when she does bring up the Civil War. And this is ECS. She says, in the men of our day talk too as if they reflected the opinions of Jehovah on the vital questions of the hour. In our late Civil War, both armies carried the Bible in their knapsacks, and both alike prayed to the same God for victory, as if he could be in favor of slavery and against it at the same time.
Ooh.
Like the women too, who are working and praying for women's suffrage. And then she goes on some crazy stuff. Blah, blah, blah. What was your quote?
Yeah, it is funny. It is funny how they could be, and we are all praying to the same God, right? And it's happening today too,
Right. And that's what I mean. Like the point of her breaking this down is like, this is not the same person writing all of this stuff.
These are fallible.
They're fallible.
Fallible humans.
That's right.
All of us, I am like really dumbfounded that I thought all science and progress and intelligent thinking, I knew it was happening. But when I see the number 1890, right, I don't think about psychologists and all of this stuff. But now I do, because I'm like, oh, these ladies were.
Oh, yeah. That's when the psychology was like popping
Yeah.
off. People were way into intellectual pursuits back then. It's just hard for us to imagine today.
Yeah.
Because it's like, as I mentioned last week, like it's anti-intellectualism has gripped
Yes.
this nation.
Yeah, and we were intellectuals. So they even psychologists were talking about having a sixth sense, where you could read each other's minds and communicate without speech, which I do think we can do, because
Absolutely.
people that are living together for a long time can look at each other and read. But it's shared experience that lets you do that. So they talked about psychologists doing that, and when they were talking about like the story of Genesis and Adam and the Eve, and that the snake might have had that sense to be able to read their minds. And he was like, so if they were to take this account true, that there really was like a snake that came in, that the snake was like, I think she's smarter. and went to her. Like, literally. I thought that was funny.
Oh, it's totally true. To me, that makes more sense than what I read in the other stuff.
Right? Like he just used his sixth sense and was like, that guy is not thinking about nothing. But this girl, she might want to know more. And he went to her.
Exactly.
I thought that was funny.
I don't totally makes sense. So she's wrapping up, Elizabeth, and she's talking about, there's a couple things she does at the end of this, like, analysis of Genesis. And one is talking again about how these different interpretations, the Jewish account, the Christian account, how these all can't be of the same thing. Like, get it together, people.
But yeah, like, you're not even sounding like yet. Yeah, we're paying attention to one another.
This is where I'm, again, I don't know why, it's kind of like Catty and Fabulous when she makes fun of people that are like, this is barbaric stuff. So she's like, we have no fault to find with the Bible as a mere history of an ignorant, underdeveloped people. But when special inspiration is claimed for the historian, we must judge of its merits by the moral standard of today and the refinement of the writer by the questionable language in which he clothes his descriptions.
Clothing your descriptions.
I know.
Making your narrative. Creating your own narrative.
That's right.
How's this going to fit for me? How can I make it so I can do whatever I want to my wife? So it's funny that you say that because there's a whole conversation in here about the word obey and how they don't think it was the word obey, like you should obey, wives should obey their husband. They think it was like, it was meant to be that men should defer to their wives for big decisions, right?
Yeah. Hey, translator, that was kind of an important point.
This is important because actually you're supposed to listen to her so that you don't end up, having to wipe out the whole race because shit's going wrong. But instead they didn't listen to her, and then she apparently became the root of all problems.
See, again,
misinterpretation.
They really did a number on us.
It's all a misinterpretation by some men that just wanted to control the women.
And it's so clear as they outline how they outline all the inconsistencies. So the other thing, so she also, this is where Elizabeth really expresses her faith and how much she does love the parts of the Bible. Mm-hmm. And there's some she is a good writer. There's some really good passages.
Some juicy.
Yes. But one of the last sentences in that chapter, parts of the Bible are so true, so grand, so beautiful that it is a pity it should have been bound in the same volume with sentiments and descriptions so gross and immoral.
Yeah. So it's just like a couple translators got in there and they had their own agenda and they didn't care what they were reading. They were like, I think this would make it better for me.
Yeah.
Which is kind of how our laws work today.
I know. It totally is.
It's the same dang thing.
It's funny. I wonder if they had an agenda or they're just so, egocentric. They're like, well, this is a story. But I think they had an agenda,
I have to say they had an agenda, and I back that up with the fact that women couldn't divorce men, right?
Right.
So, and women weren't allowed to translate. Women weren't allowed to be high up in the church. And still today, even not that much power for women in the church, unless you are not of, Roman Catholic, right?
Yeah.
That Roman Catholic Church is still very male in power, right?
Oh,
I told you.
You're looking at me like I was going to be like, no.
I'm like,
how dare you?
Are you going to disagree with me? The whole Pope
Roman Catholic, totally dude base. It's like bro conclave.
So I told you I bought the canon law thing, mm-hmm. But I just specifically the women parts, kind of like the Bible. But I was reading it, and it's from like 1930s, but it's still terrible. And I'm assuming that it.
I don't know. I think it's funny.
I'm assuming that
I'm shocked.
I don't think
it's so interesting.
It has not been updated at all. And these are literal laws. Did you know? Like they have their own lawyers, and they have their own legal system. So it's
like the military.
You could have the church take you to their court.
Oh my gosh.
Isn't that weird?
It's so weird.
These are things I didn't know.
I have never been to church court. Also, that'd be a good show.
We might go together after this. Who knows? Maybe they'll be like, Sarah, Joanna, we are from the office of the canon law, and we're taking you to Rome.
I would love that. If we could get inside the Vatican, arrest me. I would love that.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Send me there. Send me there today.
Yes. Okay, so we made it mostly through.
We made it through.
I didn't mean to make it sound like a slog, because this is supposed to be fun and thrilling.
It is.
And arcs. But Lord, I'm really hoping Exodus is going to be the jam.
And let's say you're listening and you're like, gals, I don't know how you're not finding yourself riveted with the Bible verses. And let me tell you, when I listen on audiobook, because sometimes I read it, sometimes. Well, that's how I end up seeing things 4 times, because I'll read it and then I'll listen to the audiobook and then I'll go back and read it.
That's dedication.
Right?
Yeah.
But when I listen to it on the audiobook, they read the numbers.
Oh, Lord.
And it drives me literally batty.
Even you saying that, I'm getting a hive.
Yeah.
Don't read numbers.
Don't read
notes.
the numbers. Who does that?
Yeah.
And I don't think she's an AI lady, but maybe she is. I mean, it's a free audio.
Well, we could do our own. Is this in public domain? We could do our own audiobook version.
Oh my gosh, we make it so much better.
Yeah.
And we do our voices.
And we could do like an electric guitar background.
And women should be heroes.
Women should be heroes.
Hagar the horrible. I think if we read it, it would be better. I mean, I don't know who's reading it on Audible. God bless her. Someone told her that she had to read those numbers, and
it's pretty dry.
So come back next week, because you
don't even have to come anywhere. You can just listen
and talk to us.
The stories in Exodus,
they're going to be even more.
Yeah, I have here in our little. So next week we move on to Exodus. We're going to see where and why and how women are represented in all the juicy stories in Exodus. Plagues.
Oh, I love plagues. I love plagues.
What about, do you like parting seas?
Oh my gosh, if they're made with Jell-O, throw me in the mix. Oh my God.
And then the real.
Oh, sorry. Oh my goodness.
Oh, sorry. Safe space here.
Sorry. Thank you. Thank you. I apologize.
And I am so excited because Exodus also includes the commandments.
Oh my gosh, the ones that were written on the little block.
Yeah. I don't know. I haven't read it.
You know.
No spoilers.
You didn't see the picture. You saw the picture. Lightning struck.
I made it through most of catechism.
All the writing was there.
Yeah. It's going to be so awesome.
Burning bush.
Yeah.
I love the burning bush.
There has to be a band named Burning Bush.
I got to tell you, you and I had a different experience, because I loved myself some catechism, and it was nothing like reading the actual Bible. And I want to give thanks to your mom, because she was one of my
Wait, my mom was your catechism teacher?
Yeah.
Oh.
You didn't know that?
Oh my gosh.
She made me a sorry sack. We made potato sacks for our first communion. It was so fun, and we got to wear them. They were our sorry sacks, and then we gave our first confession in my sorry sack.
I did not even know
my
that.
mom and your mom worked together.
My mom's looking down from. Actually, my mom isn't looking down from heaven. She's like, "I'm busy, bitch."
She's busy. I'm doing shit. No, she's checking in on us. You know it.
Oh my gosh!
So my mom, the other day, we were talking about your mom, and my mom did her student teaching at St. Joseph's, and your mom was teaching there. And my mom, for legit, thought your mom was a nun for the longest time. She thought she was a nun. And then
she's a little square.
And then my sister goes, "Is that because she looked like the flying nun?" In our family, Sheila is a nun. There you go.
I really like this.
Yes, she was very...
And that story explained, catechism, no for me.
I loved it.
But it just showed, this is more about if you want people to learn and listen. You
Yeah.
got to engage them. You got to give them.
some.
Yeah, because I was
tips
very
and
creative. She's a creative gal.
She was very
For a
creative.
nun, very creative.
Very creative nun. And she just gets you excited about things. Like
Yes.
I have very fond feelings about my sorry sack.
I need to know more about this.
And it was literally like, I think it came from the feed and grain by your house.
Oh my gosh.
You know, we had a bunch of sacks and we got to decorate them with crosses and stuff. I'm telling you, if I were me, I would have kept it in a box. But
Well, I'll tell you what. We may already have our first craft project for biting all the apples.
sorry
So,
sacks.
yeah.
We'll help you out.
Think about it. Get
Get your
people.
sorry sack and go sit in confession. Say a Hail Mary. But the thing that did confuse me about confession was sometimes I didn't have anything to confess. And they were like,
You just got to make shit up.
you got to make something up.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, isn't that a lie? And they're like, yeah. So there you go.
I wish. I was always kind of like, I was a little troublemaker, but I never thought, I wish when I was like 7 years old and they're like, you got to make something up. I really wish I would have been like, I embezzled $50,000 from my parents' bank account. That would have been so awesome.
And you can't tell anyone, Father Jacobs, because this is a safe space. I'll take my Hail Mary. Thank you very much.
Give me the Beatitudes. I'm out of here.
See you later.
All right.
All right. We got to sign off.
So, we're signing off. And remember, commandments next week, which means we command you.
We command you to listen.
Yes.
Because, it's basically how you should run your life. You should probably know about it.
That's right.
And you should learn about it from us.
See you next week.
See you next week.